Hello everyone and welcome back to Mystic Korea. Today's video is going to be about everything that you need to know about Team Rocket. I decided to do this video because we do have a Rocket mix-up coming up tomorrow actually. And the lineup for the Team Rocket grunts is going to be changing. I don't know if it's going to be changing for the leaders, but definitely for the grunts. And I think that there's a lot of people that don't know all about Team Rocket. I see questions coming up from viewers all the time about Team Rocket, and I think it's really important for everyone to kind of learn all about it and know what they need to know in order to be successful in fighting them and get the most out of actually fighting Team Rocket. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about today is about the different types of Team Rocket that you will encounter. The very first one is grunts. Grunts are the basic members of Team Rocket. If you have played the original games or if you've watched the original cartoon, the anime, you'll have encountered Jessie and James and seen them before. Jessie and James are a different level of grunt. So the very basic level is just the grunts. There are different types. There are ice types, bug type, grass type, water type, and all of them have their very own lineup of Pokemon, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But that is the first level, is just the regular grunts. Jessie and James do make their appearance every now and then for special events. I think the last time that we had them was at the beginning of 2021 or the end of 2020 for some type of safari event that was going on, and they always appear together. So if you get a Jessie and James Rocket balloon, and theirs is very special, it is white instead of black, they appear together and you actually have to fight both of them one after the other. So normally grunts appear just one, either at a Pokestop or in a balloon, whereas Jessie and James usually appear in a balloon together as a pair that you have to fight. I think usually it's Jessie first and then James, or it might be vice versa, but that's just my memory. The next one after that is going to be leaders, and you have to fight 6 grunts before you can fight a leader. What happens after you fight 6 grunts is you get 6 mystery components, and those turn into a rocket radar. And once you get a rocket radar, then you can start finding the leaders in the wild or in the balloons that come. And there are 3 different leaders. There's Sierra, there's Cliff, and there's Arlo. Right now, I think Sierra and Arlo are the easiest ones to fight, and Cliff is extremely difficult. It took quite a few change-ups of my own Pokemon lineup in order to beat him, so if you've been able to do so, congrats to you. He is quite tough these days. But after those 3 leaders, there is another one called Giovanni. Giovanni is essentially the head of Team Rocket, and Giovanni only comes out for special events. Right now, he's been coming out once every month with the 3 legendary birds from Kanto, which was Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. And the really cool thing about Giovanni is that you do get a legendary shadow Pokemon from him. So he, though, only comes out for special events, and the way that it works is normally you have to fight all 3 of the leaders, so Sierra, Cliff, and Arlo, and then you get this super rocket radar, and you get Giovanni. And like I said, he only comes out every now and then, and it's not something where you can keep fighting the 3 leaders and keep getting those super rocket radars when he's out and about. You only get one chance at it. So if you miss that time or that month or the event when he's out, unfortunately you are going to miss out on whatever Pokemon was available at that time from him. Now, something that I think is really important when it comes to talking about the grunts, about the leaders, and about Giovanni is the fact that they are actually scaled to your level. So if you are a newer player, beginning player who doesn't have very good Pokemon, that's a great thing for you, because the level of Giovanni, the level of the leaders, the level of the grunts is going to be much lower. They still may be difficult for you depending on, you know, the Pokemon that you have. But it is scaled. So the higher level you are, the higher CP the Pokemon that you are going to end up fighting is. I think this is a great mechanic because if you are a lower level and you're fighting the same level of Pokemon as, say, a level 40 player, it's not going to go well. So the fact that they actually do scale the level of the grunts and the leaders is a great mechanic. So don't worry if you are worried that they're going to be too strong for you. They're not. Well, they might be, but it just really depends on what Pokemon you have and kind of changing your strategy when it comes to actually battling them. So I do actually want to talk about some of my tips for battling the grunts and the leaders, and especially Giovanni, and that's going to be something that I use quite often when I'm fighting them. So there's two different things. The first is that I always try to use a Pokemon that is very spammy, so that way I can burn through the shields. It's really important to know that the grunts, even though you can see that they have shields available, they will never use them. So you never need to worry about burning through the shields on a grunt. However, you do need to burn through the shields on a leader or on Giovanni. So I always try to go with a Pokemon that can fight and attack very quickly and that I can charge with the shield. It really doesn't matter what shield it is or like whatever attack it is, because they're gonna block your first two charged attacks no matter what. And then the other thing that I usually do is if I have a type disadvantage and I need an extra little bit of time, what I will do is as soon as the battle starts, I will switch to another Pokemon. That actually causes a lag or a delay on the side of the leader or on Giovanni, and it gives me just a few extra seconds to do more damage and to also charge up my attack. And that way I'm able to spam the charged attack much faster and much easier without taking as much damage. And I'm also gonna put this here in the video so that you can see it. You can see how it works, but it's something that I use quite often, especially when I'm not sure about what the lineup is of their Pokemon, so that way I can get through those shields as quickly as possible. Now, it's important to know that you have to do it right at the beginning, because if you wait a few seconds, your Pokemon's going to already start to take damage from the beginning, and sometimes it can be really big amounts of damage, which makes absolutely no sense, but that's unfortunately the game mechanic. So you need to be ready to switch your Pokemon right at the beginning of the battle. So I usually do not start with my spammiest Pokemon. I will have it either in my second or my third slot, and I'll start with one of my other ones, and I will just switch to it right as it starts. So that leads us to the second thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is battling. Battling the grunts and the leaders is kind of a very interesting thing, because you have different aspects of the lineup. So each grunt, depending on whether it's water or dark, ice or ground, can have a different lineup of Pokemon. You can have the same starting Pokemon but a different second Pokemon, or a different starting Pokemon and the same second Pokemon. So they do change, and there is a rarity to the lineup of the Pokemon. So some starting Pokemon especially are rarer than others. And this is also really important because when it comes to catching the shadow Pokemon, which we're going to talk about later, what Pokemon you can actually catch from them does change. You can actually catch different Pokemon even if the starting Pokemon is a certain one. So we'll talk about that at the end. But basically the way that battling works is you really need to check the types. That is my number one recommendation for you, is check the types, check the counters. Don't just go in with whatever Pokemon has worked for, say, water type. It's probably not going to work as well for the electric type. Just like when you're battling in PvP, you need to know the types of the Pokemon. Now, this is especially true when it comes to fighting the leaders. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Cliff is difficult. He really is, especially if you get his Slowking as his second Pokemon. But you know, you really need to check the counters, and you need to try and find something that matches the weaknesses of the one that you're fighting's Pokemon. Now, there are a number of websites that you can use to try and find the counters for these Pokemon. If you just Google Pokemon Go Arlo counters, Pokemon Go Sierra counters, Pokemon Go Cliff counters, or even Giovanni counters, you'll find a very good list. I've actually found that recently Giovanni has been easier for me than fighting, say, Cliff. Cliff is actually more difficult for me than Giovanni is. As funny as that sounds, Giovanni is supposed to be extremely difficult. I took him out with like one Pokemon, whereas with Cliff, I'm barely getting by with all three of mine. So what I'll do for you now is I'll actually put on the screen kind of just something that has been taken from Pokemon Go Hub's website. They have a great list of counters on there for you to take a look at. There are many other websites like Silph Road and stuff that you can use, but this is one that I think is pretty useful. And it basically just tells you all the different Pokemon that they can use, and you can kind of just see what the different combinations would be like. Now, for me, when I'm hunting shadow Pokemon, there's usually a few that I avoid, that I'm not a fan of catching or wanting to try and fight, so those are usually flying types. I don't necessarily usually do electric or psychic because I hate Wobbuffet. But everyone's different, and maybe there's something that you really want to catch, or something that you really like, or maybe even something you really don't like. So I definitely am picky when it comes to actually doing my grunt battles in order to get my Rocket Radar, but it's up to you if you want to kind of do something like that. You don't have to fight every single grunt that you see. You can be picky, and you can choose just the ones that you want. So what can you get from fighting grunts, from fighting the leaders, from fighting Giovanni? There's kind of 3 different categories to this. So the first one is going to be the grunts. When it comes to the grunts, you are guaranteed a shadow Pokemon. Well, not guaranteed. You can actually miss it, but you are given an encounter with a shadow Pokemon. Now, that shadow Pokemon is either going to be the first Pokemon that is in their lineup, and that is the most common one. It's a higher percentage chance of that. However, there is a smaller percentage chance that you will catch an evolution of that, or another one of the Pokemon that they had. It's usually the second Pokemon. I don't think I've ever caught the third one, not that I can remember, but normally it's the first one, and very rarely can you catch the second Pokemon in the grunts lineup. When it comes to fighting the leaders, though, you kind of have the same experience. You can catch, I don't think I've ever experienced encountering one of the second or third Pokemon from a leader. I've always encountered the first level of the Pokemon, which for me right now, I've been hunting Arlo and hunting Shadow Beldum like crazy, but that's basically the one that you can get is the first Pokemon from leaders. Now, what's cool about the leader Pokemon is they can actually be shiny, whereas regular grunts, I have not really ever heard of anybody being able to catch a shiny, and I've heard that you're not able to catch a shiny Pokemon, a shiny shadow Pokemon from a regular grunt. However, when Jessie and James are around, you can actually encounter shiny shadow Pokemon from Jessie and James. I do actually have a shiny shadow Pinsir that I got from them earlier this year. So that is one of the cool things. You get the shadow Pokemon from the leaders. You also can potentially get a shiny of their Pokemon, and you also get these special 12-kilometer mystery eggs. 12 kilometers is a lot to walk, so hopefully you use incubators, or you pop them on when there's special events for reduced egg hatch distance, which we just had this past weekend for Community Day. So you get these special eggs that have special Pokemon in them. Sometimes you get really great Pokemon, and sometimes you don't. In one of the videos that I've done before, I'll go ahead and link it above, I hatched 12-kilometer eggs all at once, and I got some good Pokemon, nothing shiny. I honestly don't think I've ever hatched a shiny. So, you know, your luck is, it's completely up to RNG, random numbers. If you have caught a really cool shadow Pokemon, a very good IV shadow Pokemon, do let me know in the comments down below. I'm quite curious. I just recently got my first Shadow Beldum, shiny Shadow Beldum, and the IVs on it aren't great, but it's just really cool to finally have one of those. So the other thing that you can get from Giovanni now is, instead of just a regular shadow Pokemon, you can get a shadow legendary Pokemon. He is the only one who allows you to catch a legendary shadow Pokemon. And recently it's been Zapdos, it's been Moltres, it's been Articuno. I know in the past he has had Mewtwo. Unfortunately, the ones that I have are all really bad, but it is really cool to be able to have that opportunity to catch a shadow Pokemon, a shadow legendary. So if you have been avoiding doing Giovanni just because you think it's really hard, don't. Take advantage of the opportunity to fight him while you can, because it's not very often that he comes out, and it's not very often that you get the opportunity to catch a shadow legendary. So now that we have talked about all of the parts of battling a Team Rocket and fighting Team Rocket and the things that you get from Team Rocket, let's talk about purification, because if you've noticed, after you've caught a shadow Pokemon, you have the opportunity to purify that Pokemon. And what's really interesting about the purification process is it's supposed to make the Pokemon stronger, and in a way it does. But it's kind of like a catch-22, because on one hand, it makes the total IV stats of the Pokemon stronger, but recently they have buffed the Shadow Pokemon and they essentially get increased damage, increased attack, but a decreased defense. So they're basically glass cannons. So it's up to you whether or not you want to purify your Pokemon. You know, maybe it's really close to Hundo. I really don't recommend it because you do get such a great increase in the attack. And a lot of Shadow Pokemon are actually great counters for legendaries. So my advice would be not to purify your good Shadow Pokemon and just hold on to them. However, purifying Pokemon does have its advantages because you can work your way towards a purification medal, and it does actually help you get more Pokeballs when you are catching purified Pokemon. So the way that works with the catching, and I'll throw it up on the screen, basically you get a certain amount of Pokeballs depending on a few different factors, one of which is how many of your Pokemon are still alive or not passed out. And so it benefits you to maybe transfer or switch a Pokemon before it gets knocked out, so that way you can get an extra Pokeball for it. The other thing is purification, and when you purify a Pokemon, it goes towards a medal, and basically the more that you purify, the more it goes towards that medal, and I think at certain ranks you get more Pokeballs. So I don't know what the max is, probably 3 or 4 Pokeballs from that, depending on if you have a silver, a gold, a bronze, or even a platinum medal for that. The other important thing to know when you're talking about purified Pokemon is that Shadow Pokemon are expensive to power up. They cost more Stardust, and it's kind of just a pain. So if you are short on Stardust, or if you're struggling with that, that is something else for you to consider. While it does cost Stardust to purify them, it also, leveling up a Shadow Pokemon is expensive. So let's kind of compare the differences between Shadow Pokemon and purified Pokemon. Shadow Pokemon have a stronger attack, but a weaker defense. They are recommended counters for a lot of the legendaries. It is hard to get a good statted Shadow Pokemon. They are rare, and you do have to do a lot of grunt battles, a lot of leader battles to get good ones and to get the ones that you want. Unless you're really, really lucky and you get it on the first try. I am not that lucky. But Shadow Pokemon, though, some of the weaknesses, they are expensive as heck to level up. It really just depends on how much Stardust you have. Really, to max one out is going to cost a small fortune. Purified Pokemon overall are going to have higher IV stats. They get a slight boost, I think, to each one of the different stats. I think it's like 2 points maybe, something like that. But when you're looking at them compared to Shadow Pokemon, they're not going to have that attack boost that a Shadow Pokemon is going to have. So, you know, it's really up to you which one you want to go for. I recommend keeping your good shadows and purifying your cheaper shadows for the quests and the medals and stuff like that. There are different levels to purification. They go in terms of 1,000 dust, 3,000 dust, and 5,000 dust. So I strongly recommend, if you're going to purify a bunch of them, then definitely go for the 1,000 dust, which can be things like Errands, and I think Rattatas as well, which as far as I know are not in the Team Rocket lineup at the moment. But I know that there are a few different Pokemon that do count for 1,000, and they're way, way cheaper to purify than the 5,000 one. So, you know, if you've got a really bad 5,000 dust one, just transfer it out. There's no point keeping it if you're not going to be using it, and it's just so expensive to purify. Don't waste your dust on that. Just try to catch ones that are cheaper to purify if that is something that you are working towards. So that's gonna wrap up the video today. I hope it was very useful to you guys. If you did find it useful, please definitely hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, of course, subscribe. I will be doing some more videos like this in the future, and I have some already on the channel. Just recently I caught 100 plus shadow Pokemon, so if you would like to check that out, I will link it above for you to see. It was quite the experience and quite exhausting, but I got some interesting catches out of it, so I hope you guys will enjoy it too. That's gonna bring the video to an end. I will catch you all in the next one. Bye!